Good morning and God bless. Welcome to the Front Page Saturday Town Hall edition. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This is where KJLH and our partners come together to bring you important information. Started out as an effort around the coronavirus information and, urgent updates on that. We will continue to do that. It pivoted to the protests and also continuing with this pandemic, and now focus solidly on the election, which is less than 2 weeks away, family. And today we are focusing on, well, I call it, what are those other things on my ballot? So many of us just don't know. You get to the top of the ticket, president and vice president. Hopefully you figured that out by now. Most of us know who we're voting for Congress. And by now, if you've been listening to the Front Page Monday through Friday from 4:30 to 6 a.m., or if you've tuned in on Saturdays, you have a good idea about the propositions. If not, I suggest you go to kjlhradio.com, kjlhradio.com, click on Radio Free Live, and then you'll see Radio Free TV, which is where we keep our podcasts. We have podcasts up with information about the propositions and about the judges. You also have, you've got a podcast there of the district attorneys' interviews, all kinds of stuff. So the stuff we have already covered, you have access to at kjlhradio.com. Today we brought some folks in who can talk about the down ballot, right? The stuff that you look at like a deer in the headlights and perhaps freeze in when you're filling out your ballot. I've done it before when I get to boards, judges, or city measures that I didn't even know were there. So that's coming up for us. But there's a big deal happening today, right in Inglewood, around the corner from us. It's an effort which is truly something powerful that's happening right in our community, being put together by a coalition of folks that are helping to spread the word about, really all getting out and voting and all the things that go with it. And it's called Election Justice. Here to talk to us about that is Principal and CEO of Impact Strategies, a political advocacy firm in the nation's capital. She's a political commentator on CNN, NPR, and much more. An influential Politico, a lawyer and advocate. I'm talking about Angela Rye. Welcome to the Front Page.
Thank you so much for having me, Dominique. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to have you on. And, I know this is something that a lot of heavy hitters like yourself are pitching in. Explain what election justice is and why you're part of it.
So elect justice is a concept that we created earlier this year, really because so often in Black and Brown communities, our members are asked to go out, especially in the middle of this pandemic, potentially risk their lives, and they don't get anything in return. And what we wanted to do is say, being a part of the Black community, my partner, Mike De La Rocha, who is a part of the Latinx community, wanted to say, listen, we see you all. We know that so many of you are on the front lines in keeping us alive. We want to ensure that we are a part of meeting your basic needs. So instead of just asking you to come and vote, of course, that is in your interest. Of course, that is a part of how you ensure your long-term sustainable power politically. We also know that you just have basic needs like groceries. So we have groceries for you. You have basic needs like what you're going to eat today. So we have that. You want to make sure that you're COVID-free. We have COVID testing. You want to make sure that you throw away that old mask that you keep reusing. We have PPE, right? And so that's what today is really about. So we couldn't be more proud to partner with organizations like Black Voters Matter or Rock Nation's United Justice Coalition. Tidal is streaming this event. We have events in 14 other cities. There will be a live stream of the event, of performances, of conversations with other entertainers. A big one that I'm excited about today, Snoop Dogg is coming to drop off his very first ballot ever at the forum, which is where we will be. So we're working with When We All Vote, and shout out to Mayor James Butts, who helped us to get the forum and said that this is so important. It needs to be a city-sponsored event. Congresswoman Maxine, who always makes sure the community knows what's going on and has what it needs. So there are a ton of partners in this, and we are just so grateful. So we're out here. We not only want to make voting fun, we want to ensure that you have your basic needs met. We see you. We know how important you are to us, and this is our way to tell you we love you, to keep going, that you're worthy, and that you should have an opportunity to cast your vote.
I love this because so many times, especially with the resident of the White House now, we get caught up in what we don't want and everything that's wrong and everything we hate. It's so nice to have like this big elect justice hug, community hug, thing that kind of creates that momentum of focusing on what we want.
That's right. Yeah, and I think that part of what we want is just to be treated fairly. Part of what we want is just to be treated equally. And so I think that the main thing that we're focusing on is ensuring that we build in that process and that bridge to equality, justice, and equity. And this is the first step. My good brother Andrew Gillum just said on a podcast we were all on the other day that voting is the front door to democracy. And so we're just daring people to knock on that front door and watch what happens when that door opens.
Yeah, I mean, because we can kick down the door and knock on the door at the same time. I mean, for those who love to protest and who think that, they don't want to sell out to just becoming complacent within the electoral system. I always say this, it's not either or, it's both and. And in fact, I think right now that's more important than ever because some people are hesitant, about Biden. And I've been so happy to see you on TV kicking butt on behalf of Senator Kamala Harris because, we are in a great position to have people, if you're a Bernie voter or if you're an Elizabeth Warren voter, as I was, that, we're in a great position to push a progressive agenda if we stay in the streets and in the ballot box at the same time, right?
Yeah, there's no question about it. And to me, what I think is important, and now I'm taking off my elect justice hat and putting on my personal hat because it is a nonpartisan event and elect justice, not just on the early vote day, but beyond is nonpartisan. But what I would say is very simple, and that is, this isn't about partisanship. This is about right and wrong. This is about ensuring that our folks have the opportunity to live, to survive. And to me, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on or where you typically voted. It is imperative that we create space and opportunity for our people to continue to be here on this planet. And I think that's what's on the line. Our literal survival is on the line. When you're talking about 221,000 people and counting who have died because of the coronavirus, you're talking about well over 8 million cases of coronavirus. You're talking about 74,000 cases just on Friday of COVID. We have a lot on the line, and part of that is just basic competence. So that's where we are.
And I'm glad you pointed that out about this being a nonpartisan event. Sometimes even in this election season, even just voting feels partisan because you feel like people are trying to block you from doing so. Here in LA County, we've had fake ballot boxes going up. But it's a great point, and it seems like you've brought together, as it says here, sports, music, and politics. And there's been a lot of conversation about that because of, Ice Cube stepping in to the political arena at the last moment, causing waves. And people even questioning whether or not, entertainers and sports figures have a right or should be in this space.
I think that's ridiculous, honestly. Like, if you have a vote, you have a voice. And what I'm not going to do is be in the business of silencing people's voices because I disagree with them. What I will tell you is a lot of what Ice Cube is talking about is in alignment with what we're trying to solve for today. That is the fact that for too long, people have felt taken for granted. For too long, they have felt like they don't matter. And the way that people treat our folks, even as it relates to suppressing votes, demonstrates that is in fact an issue, right? So how he's going about it is out of frustration, out of pain. I'm not going to fault him for that. But what I would say is, no matter who you meet with, be clear about who is in the office of the president right now and what have they done. So it's great that they say that they agree with your agenda. Tell them to prove it. While they're standing on the debate stage telling white supremacists or racists to stand back and stand by. Tell them to prove it while they've gutted every office of civil rights that protects us from discrimination in the federal government. Tell them to prove it while they removed consent decrees from every police department that has shown susceptibility to racism and have killed our children. Tell them to prove it while he's coming down the escalator announcing his campaign, calling Mexicans drug dealers and rapists. Your rhetoric and your policies and your actions should align. And if they don't, you should call foul. And so we're calling foul. And we are going to move expeditiously towards what we believe is righteousness and real justice. And we're going to fight for it. We know no matter who's in office, we're going to have to fight for it. But I'll tell you what, I would rather fight for it against someone who has judges appointed who think similarly to me rather than someone who would appoint a justice like Amy Coney Barrett, who said that even using the N-word does not create a hostile work environment. I'm not trying to go back in time. I'm trying to go forward. Even if that time is slower than I want it to move, I'm trying to go forward. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make sure that we at least treat our communities in ways that demonstrate that we're going to go forward, and not on our watch will you be taken for granted. Not on our watch will you be intimidated from voting. There's too much on the ballot in California. Justice is literally on the ballot in multiple propositions. That's what we have to focus on. I'm not here to talk about Donald Trump. I'm sending love to my brother Ice Cube, and I hope that he would join us because this is the right thing to do. And his vote matters too. His voice matters. I'm not going to silence him. I'm not going to tell Ice Cube to shut up and rap, or like they told LeBron, shut up and dribble. Because that's not who I am. They need to be able to speak up. And if there's a problem, they need to be able to call it, right, so that people can be heard and the issues can actually be addressed.
Yeah, and Angela Rye, I mean, honestly, for me, I wasn't even just referring to Q because, you know, I love Ice Cube. I've known him for a very long time. And I love that Snoop is stepping up. I'm going to challenge everybody who's never voted before to come out to the forum today and, you know, either register or, you know, bring your ballot and vote yourself. But, you know, this, to me, it is ridiculous. We were talking last night about how, you know, Harry Belafonte and Muhammad Ali were involved in moving our people to vote into political action. And, you know, Ronald Reagan was an actor who's president. We have a reality star now. Sports and actors and, you know, comedians and artists have always been part of the American, you know, conversation on politics, I think. And so I don't understand why when one does it, we get mad, and when another one does it, we don't. I do understand your point about having a clear agenda, but I wasn't just talking about that. I was talking about what you're doing today, you know, with Elect Justice, in bringing together people like yourself, like Snoop, like Mike De La Rocha, you know, Angela Rye, to, you know, make voting fun, as you say, make it relevant, and how powerful. What role do you feel like entertainers and sports folks should be playing in this arena right now?
The role of citizen. The role of citizen, just like us. I think what's important is that we have different people who have different platforms and different leadership capacity in our communities. And where they may have blind spots or shortcomings, for example, if I want to, I've never been on a corporate board, but if I go into my first board meeting to present something, or maybe I'm joining the board, I'm going to talk to the people who've been in that space for a long time. I'm going to have mentors. I'm going to have guides. If I am going to run for office, which I'm not, but let's say I am going to run for office, I'm going to talk to Congresswoman Waters and Barbara Lee and Karen Bass and Kamala Harris so that I know how to be an effective legislator. If I'm going to go and try to play basketball, I was cut for my team in my freshman year in high school. But if I'm going to go try to play basketball, I'm going to talk to Chris Paul and LeBron and Lisa Leslie and others. And so I'm saying, don't shut up. Don't sit down And don't stand back and stand by. I want you all the way leaned in and engaged. But I also want to ensure that you have all the tools you need to succeed. And part of the tools you need to succeed are the facts of where we are, the climate that this is coming out of, and know that we have to be in position where we're always encouraging our folks that things can get better, because every time the ancestors have said they could get better, they did. And it's because their work and their words align. And that's the most important thing. We shouldn't be out here talking about the contract with Black America is the only Black agenda. That is not true. One of the co-creators of Black Lives Matter, Alicia Garza, who, by the way, just dropped a book this week called The Purpose of Power, introduced an agenda called Black Agenda 2020, right on the other side of what Black to the Future did, which was a survey of Black people, the largest one in 155 years in this country. 30,000 Black people told you what their most important agenda items were. A comprehensive survey. At least look at that survey and see how there may be some alignment. Joe Biden has an agenda for Black America. Donald Trump has an agenda for Black America. None of them are good. Okay? So it's clear that they need to be helped. I will tell you, there's one of the two agendas that were presented that something could have happened on. The guy sitting in the White House could have introduced and signed into law some executive orders. He could have demanded Congress take action on the Congressional Black Caucus's Jobs and Justice Act. He did not. He could have demanded that Congress, that the Senate, because the House did, pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. He did not. He did not. Instead, he used the power of the pen to undermine the executive orders signed by Barack Obama. Instead, he used the power of the pen to decimate the offices of civil rights, and instead of protecting us from racial discrimination, he did religious discrimination. And it's religious discrimination for Christians. They're not getting hit that hard with religious discrimination. And I am a Christian. But I'm saying because that's a different type of Christianity. I don't know what Bible they're reading, but we don't have the same Jesus. So I'm just saying that there's a lot to be done. And the last thing in the world I'm going to do is tell a brother or sister with a platform right now in this environment to be quiet and to learn. I'm going to say, let's all come together and figure out how we can align, but I'm not going to tell anybody to be quiet and learn when they're expressing the truth of their frustrations from a very authentic place. And even if that pain shows up in ways that I would rather it did not, that is not my place. My place is to encourage them and to figure out where we align.
Absolutely. Okay, so talk to me. We're talking about elect justice. It's today at the forum from 1 to 5. This is exciting. You'll be there when we all vote. Black Voters Matter, Rep California, Rock Nation, United Justice Coalition, The Collective, the National Basketball Players Association Foundation, and it's Black and Brown community voter outreach. Tell me about the importance of these partnerships and about the importance of coalition between Black and Brown.
Yes, I also don't know if we said that Congresswoman Maxine Waters would also be there. That is my mentor. Shout out to Queen Maxine, I call her.
Yes.
But what's most important here is that we understand that we are stronger together. So often I'm hearing our folks say that, why can't we just say Black only? Why are we saying people of color? And what I would say to that is something that's very simple. That is that we cannot continue to self-isolate, right? Yes, we need to do that as it relates to COVID and quarantine, however, and shelter in place. However, I'm talking about the spiritual connection, the unifying connection between one group of people to another. If we know that our policy interests align, if we know that the needs our communities have align, if we know that disparities hit us sometimes double and triple as hard as the rest of the country, we need to align. Black and brown folks do need to come together. Folks in the AAPI community do need to come together. All of us do need to stand together. That is how we move justice forward. That is how we ensure a more equitable America and society. That does not mean that Black people don't have specific needs. What it does mean is, just as we learned from Reverend Jackson, a rainbow coalition is what is really needed to ensure a brighter future for us all. And I know we all want that. for our children and next generation. And so the best way for us to do that is to align on policy interests where they overlap.
Well, in this term, BIPOC or BIPOC, whatever, it acknowledges Black people distinctly as a group and gives us the ability to unite within one term. So I think that's, worth considering. And I also think for all of my family out here on KJLH that get on my case and say, when do we ever see Latinos showing up for us? I think Elect Justice Today is a day when you can see that with your own eyes. Seems
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say, too, there's nothing wrong with saying that there are specific needs we have for Black people. Also, there's nothing wrong with saying that it's time for all of us to come together as well and figure out where our interests overlap and align. I think we'll be stronger together.
So if I want to be part of this, what sounds like a lot of fun, live streaming, it sounds like you can get the stream today on Tidal, even if you're not a subscriber, if you want to stay home. But if I want to show up at the forum, what do I do? How do I participate?
So you register ASAP, by the way, everyone. We have a website. It's electjustice.org, electjustice.org. And right when you get to the website, there's a flyer that drops down and you say, click here. You click here and it takes you straight to our registration page. Please make sure you do that to reduce waiting time. The more that you pre-register, the easier it will be to ensure that there is food for you and your family, to ensure that there's PPE for you and your family, and that you can get through, go register to vote, go cast your ballot or drop off your ballot. And I think that that's the most important thing to do. We are proud to partner with Tidal today. It will be streaming, but there's nothing like coming through and getting some of that love in person. We will be socially distanced. Everyone driving through will stay in their vehicles. We will put the groceries in your cars. And the only time that you will have to get out the car is to go vote. But again, that's on the other side of the forum, socially distanced. Super safe. All of our teams and volunteers have been COVID tested, so we're making sure that we're taking care of you. And everybody's got to wear their masks, even in your cars. Make sure you have your masks on. We will be masked up, and we encourage you to register right away at electjustice.org.
Angela Rye, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Thank you for all the work you do today and always.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
All right, we're continuing our conversation about down that ballot, those boards, the school boards and such, the city measures you know nothing about. You're getting the 411 today. Radio Free 102.3 KJLH.